Okay, it's just before 8 p.m. on a Tuesday evening. Welcome to the new AquaStax hour, or actually I should say the additional AquaStax hour, because I've decided to add a new time slot for my stream. Today, Tuesday, is at 8 p.m. UK time, as well as Thursdays at 3 p.m. UK time. So, last Thursday, where was I? I obviously need Chrome to view my game. I need to run my gulp task to serve it up. Can I remember my hotkey? Yes, I can. Localhost, waiting, see how long it takes. Pretty good. Right, so I have blocking drops. Yes, I have dropping blocks coming down the screen. I can move them around, I can rotate them, and I can drop them down. And at the moment, I have to use the spacebar to trigger my collide function, which puts the block in the grid, or actually it doesn't quite do that. There's a bit of subtlety around the code I have to look at today. But when it does that, it creates a new block that gets dropped down. As you can see, I can hit spacebar any time and the block stops completely. What's actually happening is the node that's representing the block as it's falling down the screen is basically just stopping. It's no longer being moved. It is the data that represents that node is inserted into the grid data, but that's not actually then used to render it. What happens then is the old node is just left where it was. So you kind of get this somewhat unusual positioning going on. So I'm going to fix that today, see what I can do about that. I'm also going to see if I can't make the blocks stick to the left and right hand edges of the screen, or the right hand edges of the grid. As you can see, they go anywhere at the moment. And there's also a slight glitch with the way the small blocks like this land. If I drop it like that, does it hit the bottom? No, it doesn't. It stops there. If I rotate it, it hits the bottom, but I can put it back up there and it gets stuck. And I think that's to do with the 2x2 grid size that this block is defined as, and specifics of the collision. So hopefully if I get the collision working on the sides, then it'll work on the bottom as well. Right, let's not worry too much about that and get straight into it. Just looking at my monitor over here, yeah, definitely streaming some data out to the internet. Just wanted to double check that my stream is working this time of the evening, because the broadband is much more heavily used in the evening in the UK, as it is everywhere, I expect. Also, just double check my live coding page, make sure that it says I'm live. I should be. Yep, I've got my live profile going. Yeah, you're looking at my stream. Right, stop that. Don't need that. Okay, so first things first, let's see if I can get the blocks as they are falling colliding with the sides of the grid. So we need to look at what's going on when these blocks are falling down. Did a lot of refactoring last time. I changed my functions to all refer to tiles now. So effectively a tile is the data that represents a block when it's static. And a block is a thing that is actually operated on and falls down the screen and has all the logic in it. But the tile data includes these little identifiers which represent triangles which are drawn on the screen at the different positions of the block. So the block data as well will include zeros where there is no triangles or nothing as part of the block. So I will hopefully have to use that. Let's see. So what's happening? So where I've got move block by, so this is where I'm moving my block, and I'm literally just positioning it using the node position. So the node is drawn anywhere on the screen, I think, because do we add the node to the, so there's a structure for the hierarchy of nodes on the screen. We've got game panel, which is going to be the full, is that the width? Game panel is the size of our grid, blocks wide and blocks high. Sorry, block size times block wide, yeah. So the game panel is going to be this. Then we create a grid and we add that to game panel. Okay. And then we create a block and we add blocks to game panel. So the blocks are added to the game panel. The blocks, I suppose, could be added to the grid, although I don't think that's going to matter at the moment. Let's see. Let's just refresh this. I need to think what I'm doing here, really. Something interesting. Oh, hi, JC. Good to see you. It's been a little while, I think, isn't it? I've started a new stream. Well, it's the same stream at a new time or an additional time. So I'm doing evenings as well as afternoons now. Just trying to figure out how to get my blocks to collide with the edges of the grid so they don't move left and right beyond the edges. Okay. I'm just figuring out the hierarchy of nodes here. We've got game panel, then we've got grid, and the blocks are added to the game panel at the moment, not the grid themselves. But the blocks are kind of separate. The blocks are represented as Cocos2d nodes. But when the collision occurs, when I hit the spacebar and it calls collide block, it does actually insert the data into my grid data. Is it grid data or tile data? Let's see. It's game grid. That's it, game grid. So what I could do is, one of the things that I do a lot of is visualize almost everything that's going on in the game as you're doing it, and I think that's probably quite common for all game developers. You really want to see how your algorithms are working and how they're actually doing and what's going on. And because we've got the luxury of having a graphical display that's updated lots and lots of times a second, you can actually real-time watch all your data. What I think I'm going to do is actually call the functions, or work out the functions to position the block in the grid every frame, and then I can actually draw that. As the block falls down, we should highlight the grid cells that the block is covering. And what that will let me do is, if it goes outside of any of those grid cells, then I can basically return a false or a boolean that says don't do that, and then we can actually prevent the movement functions from doing their thing. So how does it figure out where the block is in the game grid? So we've got grid index here. Actually, I've got a grid index that I used with inside collide block. That's interesting. That's going to give me probably one of the references to one of the grid cells based on where the block actually is, given its X and Y position. Yeah, so let's lift that out and use that. So create blocks. I'll just stick it in here for now. I did a bit of commenting last week and a bit of refactoring. I'm sure we'll break it all again soon. Node.x, yeah, it's not using anything special. Let's change that. Self.gridIndex. Nope, not used anywhere else. Right. So if I just call that, and then somehow I want to figure out the position of a grid index on the screen, then I can draw a box around it or something like that. So let's see. We've got grid index. Let's hi Alexi J. Sailor, good to see you. About to try and figure out whereabouts on my grid my blocks are. So I'm using grid index. Let's might as well, let's just see if I can get a draw function that will position something at a grid index. So let's do get, I suppose I could call this get grid index as well. change function names all over the place. Get grid index for node. Now we want to do get position for node, or get grid position for grid index. I suppose it matters, does it really? Actually, it's get grid position for node. Grid position for node. Hi, Feral 1337. Good to see it. All right, get grid position for node. That'll do for now. Let's see if I can figure out what the grid actual is. So I can get the grid index for a start. Self.get grid index. Then, given an index, I know that the x position, the x cell position or the x block position, so call it bx, is going to be equal to the index mod self.blocks wide, and that's going to give me 0 through to 13 or 14, however many blocks wide there are on the screen. I won't count them now, but there are about 13 or 14 there. And then the var by is going to be index, it's going to be the math.floor of index divided by, is it going to be by block size? Yeah, I think it might be block size. Let's see what this does. And that's hopefully going to give me an index of bx and by with 0, 0 being the very bottom left. And then I can just multiply that by block size. Index, no, actually it's not going to be index. What am I talking about? It's going to be index divided by blocks wide. Yeah, so mod blocks wide is going to go from 0 to 13 continuously, but divided by blocks wide will give us 0 for every time until it gets to 13. Then math.floor will give us 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and so on. Right, okay. Hopefully that's working. Then I want to draw something on the screen at that position, don't I? So get grid position for node. Let's do a cc.p. It's going to be bx multiplied by block size, and by times block size. So we return a position, or sorry, a point. We return a point. Yes, cc.p. Right. Now I want to draw something at that position on the screen. I suppose I can use the grid. Let's see, still working. Good. I suppose I can use I can do it inside the grid, can't I? So if I draw, what I want to do is do something in update. So if I schedule an update, hi JC. Here we go, self.schedule update on the grid constructor. Then we have an update function. Right, now I've got to draw the update function, or create the update function. Might have a sip of my tea first. Okay, so it's interesting. Cocos2d-JS lets me put nodes on the screen. I guess I can move them around. I might as well just create a node which draws the current BXBY position. So grid pause highlight. Right, so grid pause highlight is just going to be, I use lots of draw nodes, I might as well use them. Actually, I could use a couple of triangles, couldn't I? I could just use pre-rotate tile, get tile, create tile node at rotation. No, that's going to give me draw triangles with various things. Why don't I just do a polygon, a square? Yes, I need to do a bit more draw polygons. Hi, Adugna27, good to see you. Hopefully everyone can see the little icons flashing up on the screen. Anyone who follows me, you get some fireworks. And also, if you give me a rating in the chat window, use !rate followed by a number, you get some fireworks as well. Haven't done much yet though, so to perfectly understand why there's no ratings. So I need to create a node, and I want to do a new draw node. This new draw node. And then with this draw node, I'm borrowing the functions from tile here. What I want to do is create an array of points. That's right. So we've got an array of points. Let's just borrow this for now. I'll borrow block size. Hi, in GP. So far corners. So cc.p, we've got 0, 0. Then we've got 0 and block size, which is actually going to be the top left. Then we've got block size, block size, block size, block size. And the last one is going to be block size 0. So now, let's go back to remind myself, I just use draw poly with a color and a, I think it's internal, it's a border color and an internal color. So if I do self.grid plus highlight, corners, this could be useful actually in a bit later on, because I don't, at the moment where the triangles are being drawn, you can see all the little blocks and tiles are drawn with triangles, but I actually want them as solid shapes with just a single outline. So actually I might get to drawing outlines around them as well at some point. So corners, cc.color, let's see, if I just do white and white at the moment, it should give me a solid white square, and then we add this to the grid. Self.add-child, self. And assuming it's coming at 0, 0 to start with, self is defined but never used. There it is, right on the bottom left. Excellent. Right. So that's kind of doing its thing. Now I want to position that every frame. I want to move it to where within the grid this block is. So let's use that in the update function. So I suppose I need to know if there's a block falling down, which actually doesn't happen within the grid, does it? It only happens within the game at the moment. What I might do actually is store a reference to the block. Let's do a node for highlighting the current falling block position. And what I want to do is store a reference to falling block when there is one. And let's just add a set falling block function. Why does it insist on giving me a four space column indent whenever I do that? I like 3. I should try and figure these things out. Self equals this, self dot falling block equals node. Right. Then in here, if self dot falling block, that'll be just doesn't equal to null. We want to get the falling block. Ooh, welcome live coding TV support. Falling block pos equals self dot get, what did I call it? Get position for node. I'm going to get confused with blocks and nodes, although at the moment they're interchangeable. A block is a node, and a node and a block. I'm using the functions that have the same. I'm only using things on the node like position, x and y, and what have you. So at the moment it doesn't matter. Okay, and self dot falling block. So that'll get me the falling block position, and then I just want to do self dot grid pos highlight dot set position. I could actually just shorten that slightly. Simply Ronin, hi, how's it going? Right, with any luck, this will now move. Oh no, I have to call set falling block, don't I? Inside the game. So basically, when we create a new block, I will do self.grid.set falling block, self.block. Okay, now does that happen at the top here? I should, in theory, call new block at the start of the game, shouldn't I? No point just fixing it to the same block every time. Self.new block. And that adds it, doesn't it? Yep. Set position, add child. And it actually even sets self.block. Yeah, so all I need to do here is self.new block. Probably want to do it there. Self.new block. Okay, let's see what happens. Oh, yes, so luckily this one is a little tiny single cell block, so the actual block is moving grid cell by grid cell as I move my falling block around. Excellent. You can see it just jumping as it flips over the pixel boundary, it drops to the next one down. What is the name of the editor you are using? I am using an editor called SlickEdit. Used it for many, many years. I think this is SlickEdit version 2016. Yeah, 2016 Pro. Go to slickedit.com and you can buy it. It costs a bit of money. It's not free. Although I have used it for so long that I'm on a rolling maintenance contract of about $100 and something every year, which includes multi-platform license. So I use it on Linux, Mac OS, and Windows. The single platform license is a bit cheaper. It's just something I've got used to using for so many years. It doesn't do JavaScript as well as some other editors, but it does Java really well, it does C++ really well, and it will very well integrate with existing project files. So if you've got an Xcode project on a Mac, or if you've got a Visual Studio project on Windows, it'll just open those up and you can edit them. Anyway, back to where was I? Yes, as you can see, it shifts left and right instantly because obviously the block that's falling down shifts left and right instantly. But it's falling down. If I move it fast, yep, it does. Excellent. Out of interest, let's see if I get one of these blocks that doesn't land properly. There we go. Here's one that doesn't land properly. So yes, its boundary is of the 2x2 square that the block is contained within is actually the bottom left, and that's where it's stopping at the moment, isn't it? So if I do that, the boundary moves. So I can do that. That's interesting, because that I was looking at whether or not I can tell if the block is to the outside the edge of the screen. Outside the edge of the grid. And it looks like at the moment it won't be exactly that, because in this position the block is perfectly fine, and the index of the cell where it is going to be right at the bottom left. It'll be 0. But actually, will it become negative? It probably will. But in this case, like there, for example, it falls off the left. Okay. I'm getting ahead of myself. Right, now I need to figure out how to stop the block going left and right. I mean, it's not quite as easy as just limiting the left and right position as left and right as 0 and grid width, because, for example, there, so my block is actually positioned at 0, 0 at this point, although it's drawn there, one cell in from the edge, and I need to be able to know that it's valid to put it there right on the left, even though that's actually going to be -1 in terms of block positioning. But other blocks, you can't do that. So actually have to work out, using the rotations, where the actual corners are. So that's going to be interesting. So I probably want to do some of this work by making sure I only get a block of a certain type. So I guess the easiest ones are ones that are going to be 2 by 2 square. If I start by that, and let's just see, can I draw a new block? Let's have a new block. Let's add a parameter to new block. So optional parameter. Random number. So if type is it instance of? No, it's not instance of. I want type of, don't I? Type of type. So if it's not passed in, then we do that. I suppose I can do that there, and then not equal undefined. I suppose I should clarify it a bit better. And type instance of number, and type is greater than or equal to 0, and type is less than or equal to. How many blocks do we have? It's going to be tile, isn't it? Tile dot aq.tiledata.length for now. Should probably abstract that into a function, but now it will do. So now we can pass in a particular tile type, block type. So I'm still getting random ones, good. And I want, let's just do it nice and easily, as number 6, which is 6. Find where I'm going. Here we are, new block 6. So the first one down is always going to be the little tiny square. Oh, it's not the little tiny square, it's the... No, maybe it's number 7. Where's my little tiny square gone? I should actually do, I bet I've got some code wrong there. That instance of is probably not right. Okay, let's go into game. Don't need some of these sitting around here, do I? Oh, there's too many of them to get rid of. Right. Aha. Type of is not equal undefined, and type instance of number. I wonder if that's legit. Type is greater than or equal to 0. Type is less than aq.tiledata. has got 8 things in it. So it's probably just this that is broken at the moment. Let's go back to which one I thought it was. I thought it was number 6, didn't I? Yeah. Oh no, it's not tiles. Yeah. Where am I looking? I want something that's 1. That's the one I want. Tile. Don't know what I was looking down there for. I want tile number 1. Oh, sorry, tile number 3. Okay, block. Game. Tile 3. Let's get in there. There it is. There's our little block. ICRNII. Not sure how to pronounce your name. Or is it an M? No, CRN. Right. So that's always going to give me the same block in the first instance. And what happens? So how do I figure out that we are outside the edge? So to start with, let's see. Get grid position for node. I suppose I could do a is position within grid, and let's call this is node position within grid. I mean, the obvious thing to do to start with is just a simple test. Let's at least try that, and then we can work on how that works. So if node, let's get the node position first. Node trying to announce you joined in then and say hi, but it disappeared too quickly. So if pos.x is greater than or equal to 0 and pos.x is less than, so we want the self.blocksWide times block size. Well, actually, no, what we want to do is, if it's less than 0, or it's greater than or equal to that, we want to return false, don't we? Then we can check the Y position as well. Although I'm less concerned about that at the moment. Let's just try this. True, because the Y position is going to be dependent on camera positioning, which we haven't got any cameras in there yet. Is node position within grid. So where we're dropping a block down, now we're just move left or right, self.dx and dy. So this is actually, we're moving the block directly. What we want to do is we want to test if the position that we're going to move the block to is within the grid. So let's go back and change this. Is position within grid, and this has just got to be a pos point. Point.x is greater than. Okay, and what we'll do here is we will get, so dx and dy, we've got move by. So move by is where we actually update the position. What we should do is if self.grid.is position within grid p. Excellent, I already have a pointer that I can use. Then we move the block. Right. So, oh, that didn't work. Still letting me move the block in and out of the left and right hand sides. So is position within grid, self.grid, yep. So if point.x is less than 0, and or point.x. Okay. Aha. So now it's stuck to the left. I can't move it further to the left, and I can't move it further than the right. So that's okay. That would seem reasonable, but I know it's going to break when I use a different shape of block, especially when rotations are involved. So let's just try a different block. So the I guess we can try block 0. So this one, so that bit works, and that bit works. Ah, but that doesn't. Oh no, that worked. That doesn't quite work though. So what's happening is I'm moving it to the right, and it's going over the edge. But also I noticed it went over the edge when I rotated it. If I put it there, if I rotate it, there it goes. It's gone over the edge again. That's interesting. So I need to check the positioning on the rotate as well. Right. So we should do that, shouldn't we? Because what happens when you rotate a block is it shifts it around by the anchor point. Move block by new block. What do? We call rotate on the block itself, don't we? Self.block rotate 90. Right. So rotate 90 returns, what does that do? It actually sets the position, doesn't it? What I need to do there is call grid.isPosition in grid, but I don't want to be passing the grid down into the block in order to call rotate. So what I should do is just get rotate by 90 to return a new position, but not actually set the position. So we can do that. So, and then new rotation, right? So we've got new rotation. Let's add in a function called set new rotation. And position, yeah. Function. Okay. So here we want to do self.set position. I call it rotation and position, yeah. It's not self.rot equals new. Just call it rotation. So what I want to do is in rotate right 90, which I should change the name of rotate right 90 to, I don't know, get new rotation and position or something like that. Let's try and be consistent. Yeah, I'm using rotation first. Get new rotation and position 90. And what I want to do here is return -1 doesn't need a new rotation, so new x and new y. Set position. It does a bit of visibility setting as well, doesn't it? Yes. That's interesting. What we should do is actually move this down into here. And because we don't always need to change the position, I know actually, I'll figure that out in a minute. It's old rotation, set visible false, new rotation is just rotation, set that visible true, and we set, I might as well just do that. Okay, self.rot equals rotation, and up here we don't actually care about we do care about the rotation. Old rotation, but we're not doing that just yet. So what we want to do is we're not doing that anymore. We want to return. Let's return an object with new x and new y. What I can do is do var old position equals self dot get position. Hi Logan99, good to see you. I'm just figuring out how to set my position and rotation of a block, but limit where it can actually go on the screen. Self.set position, we're not actually setting the position here now, are we? We're just returning it. So position is the old position. If we're changing the anchor, we return position, and rotation, new rotation. So that will hopefully return the position and rotation. And I suppose I might as well just take position, might as well just take the object in down here. Actually, I shouldn't use quotes. Just do that. Position and self.rotation. Oh no, that's going to be self.rotation. That's setting the old. No, that's the old one, then the new one. That's right. Dot rotation, and then we want dot rotation here. Right. So now we've got to make sure we call get rotation and position 90 in here. Potential new rotation. Lovely long verbose variable names. Hi, Yana Seattle. Good to see you. Are you actually in Seattle? That'd be pretty cool. My my new stream time, or my additional new stream time. So I'm doing 8 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon or Tuesday evening, which is here in the UK at the moment. I wonder if it might catch more Americans. My 3 p.m. in the afternoon stream, which I do on Thursdays, probably means you're all asleep. Potential new rotation and position dot position. Then we want to do what did I do? I've forgotten what the call was. I was moving the block, wasn't I? This is rotate the block. Self dot falling block dot set new rotation and position. Potential new. There's so long. Right, let's see what happens there then. It should only change the position if it actually is on the screen. So what happened before? So I can. Oh no, it's crashing. Probably got a load of code that's wrong there. Let's just double check that JS hint didn't tell me anything. No, it didn't. Okay. Set new rotation and position of undefined. Okay, self-falling block. It's not falling block, it's self.block. Falling block is inside the grid, isn't it? Self.block. Okay, so the rotation is still working. Now it's not letting me rotate when the block is in this position because it's failing that test that I just added. Now that's interesting. What I actually want to happen here is the block to rotate but then position itself correctly. Really, I mean that's a bit harsh, forcing someone to like, or actually preventing the rotate from happening. So what happens when I rotate is it usually shifts to the left ever so slightly like that, doesn't it? What we want there is an actual offset to position the block after that test has failed in this case. Okay, let's think about that for a little bit while I have a sip of tea. Okay. So this is all still working okay. But it's not going to let me position it further to the left there, that's fine. And now it gets stuck. So I'm hitting the up key and it's not rotating. Let's think about that a little bit. Could I use the grid to return a distance? Is position within grid? Or am I going down the wrong road here? I've got to think about more about what I actually want to do with the blocks. I should so that when you rotate from that position, it does actually shift it to the left. That's because is that because the anchor point is moving? Is the anchor point on block number 0? Does it have, see, it has 0, 0 on the anchor, so it's not actually adjusting it after the rotate. Is yours not rotating, not adjusting it? It kind of looks like it might be adjusting it. Let's just double check that function. So inside block, we want to look at this rotate, this rather verbosely named get new rotation. Ah, no, it's -1 is the don't do any rotation. Sorry, don't do any anchor points. Let's just see. There we go. So it's anchor x is 0, 0. What it actually does then is, oh hi, tide wave, tilde wave, cool. I do like the name. Nice icon too. So position, what does it work out? It works out a bunch of positional changes. Actually, no, with the anchor, be the 0, 0, it's not going to do anything. So it should leave position the same as what it was before. So let's do that again. So position is 350, 1015, and position X and Y is just going to remain the same, isn't it? Yeah. Oh, no, actually, that's going to rotate. Say rotate, it's going to move it. So what are we doing here? So position is 300, 0, and after we go through here, position is now 350. So it does actually shift it. And then we continue. Yes, because it shifts up slightly. Just as the you can come and go, I think, a couple of times, and then the little introduction stops. Yeah, so it shifts up, and then it starts falling down again, which is kind of okay. Right. just thinking to myself, I could look at what my old code did. That's one option. Let's check my old code and see what it did. So let's dive into my source code. There it is. So somewhere down here is going to be rotate. Did I have an update method? I had loads of update methods, I expect. Main gameplay, here we go. Handle falling block, that'll be the one. So what does handle falling block do? So it handles the user input. And we handle moving left. General case, so here we go, we're testing block collisions. Handle the case, this is where it's sliding as well. So what is test block collision? Okay. So we're testing the block collision possibly within the grid, possibly within the edge as well. Let's dive into this one and have a look. Oh, here we go. So we're doing collide with world bounds. So that's what it does. So old X and Y stores a bunch of that stuff. Boolean collision, and then test it with the grid. So testing with the grid is to see whether or not it's colliding with blocks that are already inserted into the grid. Collide with world boundaries. What does this do then? Right. So this is testing against the grid. These values are the number of squares in from each edge of the block. Okay, are they? Right. Left bound and width bound. So this is okay. So when we're going left and right, we have a block that's maybe 2 by 2, which is what we actually have in this case. So this block is 2 by 2. I should actually draw the positions of those blocks, shouldn't I? Of the actual containing cells that the block is within. And then it does a bunch of, so it works out the boundary in from the left and the boundary in from the right. Then it collides with the X minimum and the X maximum. Okay, right. So test blocks against the world boundaries, yeah. Also test against static game grid. So this is where it's figuring out all the data within the grid to see if there's already a block in there and colliding with that. Okay, right. And what does it do here? It uses X8, so it uses the block position and get left bound. Now this is probably going to, yes, it uses the rotation, doesn't it? So it works out tile grid bounds. Set up grid. Oh, okay, setting up grid boundaries. Right. So it's so it kind of stores a set of boundaries from each edge of the cell that the block is within. Hi Torres, 362. How's it going? Let's see. I don't know if that's a question. No, I'm not using Linux. I'm using Mac. Although I do have my PC, which will boot into Linux, which I use regularly. Now let's see. I wonder if I work out set up grid bounds. This is something that gets stored within the tile. Okay, so this is another interesting thing. This is something else that gets stored in the tile data. So it's probably something we should actually set up within the init tile data function here. Then I can use it a bit later on. So it looks like, yeah, we got a lot of all this code was all shifting up data and storing arrays and things. So I can probably make it a bit easier to understand. Hello, NeoVeta. Good to see you. One or two people stopping by. I'm going to finish. I only like to do an hour stream. I might go a little bit beyond the hour, but I can't go too much beyond 9 o'clock today. But I'm going to be back on Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock for my other regular AquaStax slot. Let's see. Anybody fancy giving me a rating? I can see JC, you've been hanging around for a while. If you're still even watching, maybe you've fallen asleep. do stick a rating into the into the chat window. Right, I'm staring at my old code. In fact, I'm staring at my new code, but it's very much a copy of my old code at this particular point. Let's see if I can use setup grid bounds. I might as well just borrow it, and we'll see if we can figure out what it does. See, the grid bounds are actually I had a function called getLeftBound, and then leftBound returns the X position of the left had edge. I think that's probably left hard edge of the block within its grid. Why would I want getBound? Did I ever use that? Render collision blocks. Okay, this is some testing code. What did I do there? System out print line war cluster error probably due to block overlap. Crikey, that's a system out print line that hopefully should never have appeared. Oh, this is within the cluster code. Yeah, this is where the stack collapses. Get left bound. Oh, it does use get left bound in a number of places. But actually, we only use top, bottom, left, and right here. I know what it is. This stupid is. So top and bottom, left and right are these functions down here, which actually work things out. And in order to, what I do is I store that data in the tile data structure, and then get left bound just returns it. So it's these ones are probably used at runtime. These ones they're probably hopefully just used once. See if, yeah, it looks like it's, so it's left bound. Let's search for that, left bound, get left. So it's actually used there within the cluster code. Everywhere else it's get left, yeah. I think actually these ones take an actual tile offset and rotation. Okay, right. So it's working out a bunch of interesting things based off of the I can probably use this first. I won't use the optimized versions for now. And I can probably, that looks like it's a lot of code repeated. I'm sure I can refactor that to make it a bit easier to use. So get tile anchor. What we want is block. Do I want a separate function? Edit tile data. Pre-rotate tile. Get. I'm just going to do it. I'm just going to call. Let's create tile. Draw triangle. Let's just do aq.get tile bounds. And it's going to be a function, and it's going to take a tile, and it's going to take a rotation, and I can probably just get them all, can't I? Get tile bounds, and it will return an object, right? So let's see, return the left, well, it returns the X position of the left hard edge of the block within the grid, right? So what does it do? We're using left bound at the moment, but we can probably use this for all of them. So bound code. So we want grid size. So is that going to be tile number or tile itself? I'm going to call it tile number. So n. Right. So grid size is going to be tile dot grid size. Then we've got grid offset. We don't care about grid offset, but that is what takes into account the rotation, isn't it? And then we use a loop and it actually uses a for loop and breaks out of it. Rotation times grid size, okay. So grid offset. So X and Y, so it's in looping along a little tiny tile grid, so this would be 2 by 2 or 1 by 1. I'm not even sure you can do named loops in JavaScript. I'll find out, I suppose. So let's int grid pos. So we're just doing x times grid size. Sorry, y times grid size plus x, yeah, so that's giving us the index because they're one-dimensional arrays. And we're actually looking into this bit of data here, aren't we? So we're using grid data. So it's if grid data, and it's it's tile.grid data. Tile.grid data, and the first index is the rotation, and the second index is grid pos. Does not equal 0. Let's do that. Then it breaks. Then what does it do? Does it returns x? Okay, so it's using that to return the x position, right? So this is get left bounds. What about get right bound? Okay, so this is looping. So it's doing almost the same, but it's looping the other way. Okay. So that's easy enough to mimic, isn't it? We just want. So this is x and y. So the right bound function does this. Okay. So x and y left bound. Let's do 0 for now. Left bound and right bound. So this is basically left bound equals x at this point, and then we're breaking out. Okay, we're going to break out. I don't necessarily want to do that, do I? Let's set this to 99. I'm trying to think of a loop, of some kind of a way of avoiding the loop. Determine left bound if LB equals 99. Hey, oh, thanks for the follow. Much appreciated. Yay, we got some fireworks. LZ, thanks a lot. I shall put grid pos out top here as well somewhere. So then we don't need to break, do we? Right. So if it equals 99, then we do the things. Determine the left bound, determine the right bound. And that's going to be if RB is equal to 99. And what happens with the right boundary? Get right bound. We just use x goes from grid size -1 to 0. Okay, so it's going to be x. It's going to be grid size -1 minus x, I think, and that will end up being yes, that'll hit 0. X ends up being grid size -1. Yeah, that'll hit 0. So that, and actually we want that. Hi Jesse, good to see you. Thanks for stopping by. Any ratings yet? Oh, how many lines of code have I written? Anyone interested? I can do that. Ooh, 1,108. I think that's a few more than I started with. Nobody's rated me yet. Anyway. So, right, I don't want that. I want RB equals that. So that's going to, I don't need to break outer anymore. So with any luck, that'll give us a couple of new folks joining now. Good to see it. Now, acute tile bounds. Is that? That's gone blue. Get it, is it that one? No. Let's get it used to tile a bracket match, but I can't seem to get it to do it now. And blue. So I'm probably getting some. I don't need int anymore, do I? Right. Get tile bounds. So what I want to do now is return. Let's just do that. And hopefully that, 9 o'clock seems to be the time when lots of people are joining. Not going to be here for much longer. I'm going to finish probably in the next 15 minutes or so, I guess. I'm kind of halfway through looking at some of my old code and digging it out, making it work again. So this is going to give me get tile bounds. It's only going to give me the left and right bounds at the moment, given a particular tile number and a rotation. Let's try it. And what this will do is allow me to, let's see where I was here. So get right bound, get bottom bound. So within the collide function, what happened was it checks the collide with world bounds. So it gets the left boundary and it multiplies it by the block size, that param triangle unit size shifted away. It's an old variable. And it gets the width, so it gets the width bound. Okay, that's an interesting one. So that must be get width bound is probably a compound of get left and right somewhere. Get left bound, top bound. Oh, where does get width bound come from then? Get width bound. So what does it do? It gets the grid bounds 0, 1, and 2. Ah, yes, so the width. So we've got 0, 1, 2, and 3. 0 being the left bound, that being the bottom bound, 2 being the width bound. So it actually doesn't worry about left and right, it just worries about left and width, and bottom and height. Okay, right, that kind of makes sense. Left and width. So we actually work it out by doing left edge plus right edge and subtracting it from it. Yes. Okay. So out of interest, back to triangle collision. Yeah, not a mass there. Collide block. Lost where I was. Collide with world bounds, wasn't it? Should wrap around. There we go. So it gets the left bound, and then it gets the width bound, and then does all the collision code. Right. So I suppose, am I going to do a tile collide or a grid? Actually, it's in grid, isn't it? Yeah, so we want grid. Oh, actually, it's in block. How's it going? I'm good, thanks. Just coming to the end of a bunch of figuring out as to how I can get my blocks to not go off the edge of the screen. So at the moment they go left and right just about to the edge, but it's not perfect because blocks can be different shapes and sizes, and when the block rotates, it shifts slightly. So, and what I've done is I've prevented the code from rotating if it can't. So if I press up to rotate it now, it won't let me because it thinks that the block is going to go off the screen when I rotate it, or off the edge of the grid, like that. And you can see it shifts left slightly, and because of that, it won't let me rotate. And also, it's not falling into the bottom, but that's not such an issue at the moment. I think as well, yes, it doesn't figure out the collision with the right-hand edge properly either. It's all to do with the complicated way these blocks are defined, and this is actually worked out based on this 2x2 cell that's around the block. Anyway, I could probably have made that a lot simpler by defining a 2x1 and have an odd. Why did I want square blocks? See, this is hindsight. Hindsight from however many years ago it was, 12 years ago now when I wrote this code. Trying to figure out if there's a better way of doing it. And I'm kind of thinking there might be a much better way of doing it than the way I did it before. That'll be for another day. I won't jump to conclusions yet. There might be a good reason I did it a bit like this. Or at least there might be a good reason why I defined the tiles and the blocks the way I did. Anyway, hi. Oh, somebody joined, but then went away again. Right. Nenek, good to see you. Whew, right. I was about to insert some code into block, either block or grid. Got to figure out whether I want to do it in block or grid. New rotation and position. When did I start the game? So about 2 months ago. I think I'm literally coding it I have been coding it 1 hour a week up till now. So I've been doing a live stream every week since about mid-September. Yeah, so about 2 months. So I think I had, plus a couple of other ones, so I've had about 10 or 11 live streams. I'm now switching to doing 2 a week. So I'm actually going to have, hi Kume, Bye Avatar. So I'm actually going to do 2 a week. So I'm doubling my productivity by having two streams a week. When I originally wrote it, if you look on the live stream, on the live coding page for the video, I think it mentions that it took me about 8 months to write, way back 12 years ago when I first wrote it. So if I'm doing it, if it takes me 8 months again and I'm streaming 2 hours a week, it's going to be a long time, because that was 8 man months of working 9 till 5, 5 days a week. But only getting 2 to 3 hours in a week is going to take me a long time. But we'll see. I'm not under any pressure and there's no deadlines. I'm just doing this for a bit of fun. As you can see, it's almost like a game already. You can make blocks fall down the screen and stick them into the grid in random places. But now you can move some of them slightly off the edge, but not all the way. I'm getting carried away. Where was I? Do I want to put it in grid or in block? Or even in tile? I think I want to put it in grid so that it uses the tile bounds function, right? So I want to put it in grid, and I'm going to call it, we've got collide block already, I'm going to call it something like collide with world bounds. There we go. Collide block with, I'm going to call it grid boundary. Collide block with grid bounds. And we'll probably end up calling that from within collide block as part of the various things that collide block does. And I'm going to run out of time soon, so I might just stop this for now. Make myself a reminder comment. Function using tile.getTileBounds, or AQ.getTileBounds. going to remind myself where this is. Collide with world bounds. What line number is that on? Oh, can't quite see my line number. It's hiding behind the chat window. Never mind. 9765. 9765, right. Guess how many lines there were in AquaStax.java? 12,966. That's quite a lot of them. And that's not the only file. There was AquaStax2.java as well. Had to split the thing was so big that it wouldn't fit into the class file limits for certain old mobile phones. So I had to split it into two. Hopefully if I jump back, no, I need to jump to whatever my line number was. 9765. If I jump there, it'll remember where I was next time, I hope. Right. So, let's see where we were. Get tile boundary. So I haven't done a huge amount today. I've basically done a little bit of block limiting. Although I did add my what did I call it? I called it the indicator highlight. The highlight. I called it the highlight. So I have actually implemented my highlight, which is that little block there, which basically tells me where the falling block is within the grid at any given moment. It will also what I should do is actually draw the bounds of the tile as well. Hi, Seeing Sharp. Good to see you. Don't forget, if you follow me, you get some fireworks on the screen. My bot Tim will recognise the follow and flash your name up if that's the sort of thing you're into. And no one's given me a rating today either, so we'll just have to go without today. I need to add some more functions into my bot Tim. Maybe some, I don't know, some sound effects or something like that. Oh, thanks for the follow. Much appreciated. And there's the fireworks. Sweet. Anyway, so yeah, I've got my indicator block in. A little bit of code to do that. I've got some basic code that doesn't yet work for limiting the position of the block on the grid. So it won't go to the too far to the left or too far to the right in most circumstances, but due to rotations and other things, it does go wrong sometimes. So Thursday afternoon, 3 o'clock, we'll carry on with this and see where I get to. Great. What I will do though is it's all working. I will submit this code to GitHub now because I did promise I would do that at the end of every live stream. In case anybody wants to write some code and send me a pull request. Much appreciated if you do. Let's jump into SmartGit. And see what we did. A few. Good to see you, Inku. You're about to see me commit the code and then end the stream. I've had my hour and 15 minutes today. I like to do an hour, but it always goes over because I enjoy myself so much while I'm writing this code and chatting away and drinking my tea. So where were we? A few things are in there. We'll just commit. Actually, before I do that, I'm going to quit this. Let's lose slick edit. Cheerio. Let's go for gulp JS hint. Make sure I haven't got any errors going on. Block is defined but never used. Okay. Grid.js line 164. I should have done that within slick edit and then I could have just jumped straight to that line number. Grid.js line 164. Okay, so this is just the warning of our unimplemented function. That's actually a good one. I will leave that in there because it will remind me next time that there's something to fix. Commit. So added a grid highlight, AGH highlight. First attempt. Falling block position to the bound left and right bounds of the grid. not implemented fully yet. More to follow. Commit and push. Right, that'll be it. I think as soon as that verifies that it's gone. Check the live coding page for the GitHub links. And there we go. Close that. Don't need that anymore. Thank you very much for watching today. Jay-Z's gone. He was one of my long-term viewers, was hanging around for quite a while. It's probably gone to sleep. Anyway, thanks everybody else for watching, and I will see you on Thursday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Cheerio.